Been with my wife Mary for 3 years, and we welcomed our first boy 3 months ago. My wife has always been close to my family, and they get along pretty well. When she got pregnant, everyone was excited, especially my parents, since this would be their first grandchild. They were very involved, with boundaries of course, and my parents were the ones that actually helped making the pregnancy a bit easier. Helping with groceries, bought a lot of baby stuff, and so on. When she was due to give birth, my mom gave her this beautiful knitted shawl for our son. Each square had a different design, each with its own meaning. It was really beautiful. After labor and birth, we had already gave our rules to all the family. We wanted a month, just us and the baby. And they all respected it. After the month, I was really excited to finally get my family to meet the baby, but my wife was against it, saying she wasn't ready yet. Though sad, I agreed, thinking that also meant she wasn't ready to see her family too. I came home one day after work to find her whole family seating in our living room, passing the baby around. I thought this meant she was finally ready for my family to see my son too. I texted my family and told them they can visit now. They were very happy. I told Mary what was happening and that she didn't need to worry about hosting since I was going to host. She got enraged that I had the nerve to invite them without her permission. I got angry too. It had been 2 months now, and my family hadn't even seen my kid, no pictures either. We had an argument and went to bed angry. I tried to be the bigger person and didn't let my family meet them till she was ready. I told my family this, and they were disappointed. My dad made a comment saying, "Are we going to meet him when he's 18, or she's still not going to be ready?" Seeing the comment, I realized how unfair it was to them and decided to make it right. Yesterday, I took my son an afternoon telling her I was going to the store. I brought him to my parents' house. They were over the moon to finally see him. Told my siblings and they came too. It was a nice time and we had a nice dinner. I went back home knowing it was going to be a fight, and she yelled that I had no right to take our kid without her permission, but I just ignored her, fed my son, and put him to bed. I slept in the spare room. Now her family has been harassing me and calling all sorts of names for hurting their daughter. Her dad has gone as far as threatening me. My family is on my side, of course. I'm asking here for outside opinions.
Comment 1. First off, NTA, but is it possible your wife is struggling with some postpartum mental health issues? Sit her down and calmly ask her why it was okay for her family to see the baby but not your family. Make her give a specific, concrete answer. Tell her gently, but firmly, that it's both of your child and you have a right for your family to know your child. It's concerning that her father threatened you. Tell her you didn't appreciate that and how sad it would be for her father to be in jail, but you would absolutely press charges if necessary. Comment 2. NTA. Nor would you have been if you had cancelled the party she appears to have organized without your knowledge. Kids can create stress, but be sure not to let that gunk up the communication between you both. If that happens, then things start to resemble explosives rather than conversations. I'd be frank but firm with her. This was unfair and inconsistent. We need to be on the same page about these sorts of things. Otherwise, things can quickly come to resemble joint custody rather than parenting. Good luck, dude. Comment 3. NTA. She's being unfair. That's your child, too, and your family deserves to meet your baby. Especially if her entire family already got to meet the baby. She may be suffering from PPA/PPD, though. I remember I had a hard time with anybody around for months after I gave birth. I especially didn't want anybody other than my family around. I sucked it up for my husband, but it was hard to get around the fact I felt anxious when others held my baby. It doesn't excuse her fully, but it may be worth it to have a conversation with her about her mental health. I, 27F, recently moved to the US from India for my master's. I have been working part-time and my experience so far has been a mixed bag. My first week at my job, I faced many microaggressions, particularly towards my cultural background. I am aware that India doesn't have the best reputation, but some remarks on Indian food and culture from their end was completely unwarranted. The entire conversation was followed by 2 other colleagues commenting on how they changed their mind about trying Indian food after watching videos on TikTok. I told the manager after a day of being hesitant, and he told them privately not to make such comments again. It has been some time since that incident, and they, although aren't the most friendliest towards me, they haven't made comments or remarks that made me uncomfortable again. That was until my manager's wife threw a potluck at home and invited all of us recently. Since everyone was bringing some dish, I made chow mein and brought it to the potluck. Now, I have an Instagram page dedicated to my cooking. It isn't popular by any means, but I had shared the ID to 2 girls I work with. Most of the food I have posted about is Indian, and I believe the girls have shared my Instagram page to the others, or at least talked about it. Once we were invited, they made a passing comment that they wanted to eat Indian food that I have cooked for them before. Context: after the first week at my job, whenever I bring some food with me in tiffin box, I eat it alone. However, one of the girls, A, saw me and asked if she could try it. It was dokla, a Gujarati food, and she had loved it, so I brought it for her the next day. The day of the party, I had brought chow mein that I made, knowing that Chinese food is very popular and well liked by all of them. Nothing happened in the potluck until almost at the end, when B made a comment on how she expected that I would bring Indian food. That sentiment was resonated by some others, so I said that I wasn't sure everyone would enjoy it here, since I know for certain that some don't like Indian food and are not open to trying it. Was it petty? Yes, but I didn't want anyone to feel entitled to me cooking Indian food for them after my first week at the job. I told A and B later that I would invite them to my house and cook them some of my favorite Indian recipes, and they seemed very happy. But the next day at work, things seemed awkward, and my manager said that my comment at the potluck had made his wife feel bad. Another person, C, stopped me later and said that I need to get over what happened, or otherwise it would ruin the atmosphere for everyone again. I feel slightly angry at the situation and embarrassed. Comment 1. NTA. And wow, that group needs some lessons in manners. You were in no way obligated to bring anything specific to the potluck. It was unbelievably rude of anyone to actually say you were expected to bring Indian food, and then others piling on? And then your manager, unbelievable, and others having the nerve to say you made them uncomfortable? I am so sorry you've been treated this way. Those people should be ashamed. And I don't agree that the little remark you made at the potluck was petty. It was well deserved and good for you giving it back to them just a little. Comment 2. NTA. Honestly, this feels like a lose-lose situation almost. If you had it made Indian, someone would have commented that they don't like / aren't interested in trying Indian food. You didn't make Indian thinking you'd make something more likely to be universally enjoyed, and they commented you didn't make Indian. I'd have maybe asked someone what they thought would be the better thing to make, possibly A if you've become close to her. Or even ask your manager what his wife would prefer and go by that. But like I said, it feels a bit like a damned if you do and damned if you don't situation. My parents announced 2 months ago that they're getting divorced. I, 16F, did kinda see it coming, but it still makes me sad. My half-sister, 25F, has been celebrating ever since she heard. She cheered when our dad told her. She has gloated in my mom's and my faces. She told Mom she can forget about being a part of her life or going to her wedding now. Half-sister is engaged. My half-sister always hated that Dad remarried after her mom died, when she was 5, and she said she never wanted to have my mom or me around. She was always praying for the end of the marriage. She used to try and break them up in the past. Dad would get so mad and frustrated with her, but she never let the dream die, and now her dream has come true. The last time Mom or I saw my half-sister was when Dad was moving out. She stopped by briefly and she gloated so hard. This was also when she told Mom she was no longer invited to the wedding and no longer going to be a part of her life. My mom was upset. Despite my half-sister's dislike of her and constant disrespect, my mom loves her and she's sad to see it all end before they had a chance to be even friends. Though my mom always wanted to be family to my half-sister. My maternal aunt saw my sister had posted on social media a party she threw, and it turned out she was celebrating the divorce. My parents were upset. I could shrug it off because I knew she'd be so happy about this, and her celebration does not surprise me at all. But my parents asked me why I'm so calm and collected about this. I told them I expected her reaction and I always knew she wanted this badly. They said they would expect me to be upset. I told them maybe if I expected different from her, but I didn't. I pointed out that everyone in her comments knew too. There were loads about how she always called it and how glad they were she got this win. To me it's so dumb. My aunt confronted me afterward and told me I should be making a bigger deal out of it because it looks like I don't care about the weird and over-the-top reaction from my half-sister. She said Mom must feel like I don't care about her heartache at all. That it's rough to see a child she loved and helped raise cheer on the fact she's getting divorced from Dad. Comment 1, NTA. Your sister is hurting you and both your parents with her lack of empathy. And to be frank, it doesn't sound like you're happy she's celebrating the end of your parents' marriage. You're just acting very maturely in the face of her childishness, and even said so to your parents. Your aunt seems to think that you reacting aggressively, while legitimate, your sister sounds immature, would make things better, while this might not necessarily be the case and it might even cause more stress in an already stressful situation. Comment 2. NTA. Honestly, you seem like the only one in this situation with any emotional intelligence. Tell your mother that you understand why she is upset and that you empathize with her. However, you are not going to invest any more emotion into a person that never gave a damn about you or your mom. Hopefully your mother can understand. As for the aunt, her to stay in her lane. She doesn't have the right to dictate how you feel. If she doesn't like, that's her problem to deal with. And let her know this topic is no longer up for debate. If the adults have a problem with anything, they can deal with it amongst themselves and should leave you out of it. Comment 3. Waiting for the update when Dad starts dating someone new, half-sister realizes it went from her version of bad to worse and wants your mom and dad to get back together. Or somehow circles back around to use the "we were family once." It's coming. I, 16M, have speech issues. I have a stutter and I also have trouble making certain sounds as well. I did speech therapy when I was younger and I'm better than I was, but still can't say some things correctly. I was my parents' only child until now. My mom is pregnant with my baby sister. And they chose her name, which is something I can't say correctly. The name is Michelle. I have a lot of trouble with the Chell part and I don't say words like shell right either. My parents are really frustrated by it and they are saying I'm doing it intentionally because I don't like the fact it's a traditional name. They used the fact I want to change my name to say I'm being intentionally difficult. It hurts. They know I always struggled with this, but now it's a great big issue. My stutter got worse because of the stress of my parents and now the name sounds even worse out of my mouth, which angers them more. But I'm not doing it intentionally. I worked so hard for so long on the sounds. My maternal grandparents spoke in my defense, but Mom told them to shut up and said they were encouraging me. She was already pissed because they offered to pay for me to change my name. My mom said it was so wrong and this was just another way for them to undermine her and my dad as my parents. This led to me telling my parents it's unfair for them to blame me for saying the name wrong. I said it when they got on me again for how I was saying the name. They keep making me repeat it so I get it right. But I get worse because the pressure makes my stutter so bad. My parents told me I shouldn't talk to them about fair when I keep shitting on the names they love. Which I don't. I never said anything about Michelle and I regret telling them I hate my name and want something different. My name is Richard. Comment 1. NTA, and I am going to be completely honest with you, they are absolutely making it worse for you to be able to say the name correctly due to stressing you out. Stress/anxiety impacts people's ability to speak even if they don't have diagnosed issues when it comes to speech. There is a very famous study, completely unethical practices might I add, that proves this. Children were left with lifelong speech issues when they didn't have any prior because those conducting the study kept belittling those children for their speech. I am sorry you are dealing with this. Comment 2. NTA. I honestly cannot believe your parents would be giving you such a hard time knowing you have a speech issue. If you struggle with Shell, it's logical that Michelle would be difficult. Of course, stressing over the pronunciation is going to make your stutter worse, not better. As a parent of a kid with speech issues, it breaks my heart that they are making this worse for you. It sounds like there is a lot of resentment and hard feelings built up around you not liking your own name. Perhaps that is blinding them to the fact that this isn't about you liking/disliking the name. Either way, I'm sorry this is happening. If your parents stick with the name, perhaps you can call her Sissy or M. My friend Michelle goes by Michi, pronounced Michi. I'm sure you can find something that won't make you self-conscious every time you try to say her name.